Hello ladies and gentlemen. Today I will show you a few techniques that you'll be practicing before you start coloring your 1-point perspective name drawing. First of all, on your worksheet, you need to write your name. And first, we'll be talking about the technique of creating value within your artwork. As we talked about, value is an element of art that refers to the lightness or darkness of something. Artists use value to show realism, to show shadows and highlights in whatever object they're drawing. So in this first section, you will be choosing one color and you'll practice creating a smooth transition from light to dark. You can choose any color you'd like. I'm going to choose this blue. And you'll start with, I think it's easier to start coloring darker. And you can do a technique called scumbling where you color in a circular motion. That way you don't have streaks. So it's nice and solid. Or you can just color smoothly using the side of your colored pencil. Like this. As you work your way to the right, you will gradually lighten up your pressure. So that it gets a lighter and lighter value. Again, if you want a smooth transition, work in circles. That way you don't get the streaks of the colored pencil. You can add a darker value here by coloring in different directions. And you should gradually get to pure white. If you want to create an even darker value than your pure color of, I chose violet, what you can do, and that's what it talks about here for darker values, if you mix the color's complement with it and layer it over top, that will create an even darker value. So the complement of violet is, does anyone know? It is yellow. So if I take a yellow colored pencil and I color over top, it darkens it a little bit and creates a more muted tone. Usually it's better to start with the lighter color first and then color the darker color over top. So it makes it a little bit more muted and darker. Black is also a way you can darken your color as well. So we want to get a nice smooth transition to show value. This will be handy when you are coloring your objects around your name and you need to show realism by showing shadows and highlights on whatever object you have. Next, for burnishing. The burnishing technique is when you lay down multiple colors in different directions, and you can also use a lighter colored pencil over top to smooth it out by coloring in a circular motion. So I'm going to show you those two techniques. This is where you experiment with different colors. You can mix any colors you want together and see what colors you come up with. So I'm going to take this color, green, color in a few different directions, and then I'll choose my darker color, which will be a brown. Say I want a more natural looking color. I can layer my brown on top and see what color I get. Experiment with layering different colors. You want to mix and layer different colors in your drawing to make it more unique and make it more realistic. So you can experiment with mixing different colors together through layering. Just like with paint, when you mix colors together, you'll get new colors. So I'm going to take my orange and mix my red in it with it. You can see I get kind of a red-orange. I'm going to mix now yellow and blue. What color do you think is going to come out of it? If I mix yellow and blue. Green, just like with mixing paint. So you can make all sorts of different colors. So come up with 4 different color combinations. You can use 2 or 3 or 4 colored pencils to mix together. In this last section of boxes, you are going to create different textures. Think about what are the objects you drew around your name. Did you draw grass or fur? Do you need fur on one of your creatures that you drew? Do you need texture on a basketball? Now, I'll show you the example of the basketball. Basketballs have a bumpy texture. So how do you create that with your colored pencils? One thing you can do is use circles to draw those bumps. And I'm going to go around those to create the shadows within with my brown. I'm going to grab a different orange. So here's my basketball color. And then to create the color on the basketball, you can use a brown on top to create the texture of the basketball to show the bumps. Let's say you have some grass. Now grass doesn't just grow like this, it grows up with different variations of thickness of the blades, and it goes vertical and maybe bends a little bit. Incorporate your blending as well. I'm going to mix some yellow in there to get some yellow greens. Maybe I'll get a lighter green or just not press as hard with my original green. And I'm going to add some brown to show a little bit more natural grass. So that would be a grass texture. Now with fur, think about the direction the fur grows. If you have a short-haired, whatever the creature is, do short strokes. And again, layer different colors on top with different values. I'm going to take this black. This isn't black actually, it's indigo, that's okay. Press a little bit harder to show the texture on the fur. And let's say you have water. I'm going to add horizontal lines that curve a little bit. Have some short sections, thicker sections to show the dark shadows of the waves, and lighter sections to show the highlights on the waves. And I'm going to mix in some purple there too in my shadows. So think about using all these techniques in each object that you color so that you can create interest and realism by blending and mixing colors. One thing I didn't show you on the burnishing is if you take a lighter cream or white colored pencil and you create a circle motion with your colored pencil, that actually helps blend it together a little bit and smooth it out. You can see here, if I go in different directions, that it does smooth it out quite a bit. So if you have smooth textures, you can use a lighter, either white or cream colored pencil to burnish it to smooth out your values. When you are ready and you completed this worksheet, you are ready to start coloring your name. What you want to do is think about where the light source is coming from. Because if we have anything in a real space, wherever the light is shining from, there will be shadows on the opposite side, and there will be highlights where the light is shining. Think about where your sun is going to be or where your light source is going to be, and make a mark where it's going to be shining down. On each letter, if I have it coming from the top, my top of my letter is probably going to be light, and maybe some of these sections facing up are going to be light as well. This is going to be light. This will be pretty light as well. This will be light. The fronts of my letters will probably be more of a medium. If my light's coming from the front a little bit, it might show up on the front, and then these sides away from the light are going to be dark. And inside here, those are going to be dark because not much light gets in there. You do not want the same value, light, medium, dark, to be next to each other. So make sure you have a variety. I have L for light, dark, medium will be the front. So as you label your letters for if they're going to be light, medium, or dark, make sure you have a variety of different values and think about how the light would really shine on it. I'm going to choose blue for my letters. One color per letter you need to choose. Preferably, I think it would look best if you just do one color for the whole name, but if you want to do a pattern of one color, other color, one color, other color, you could do that, up to 2 colors. So I'm going to start on my front, and I'm going to color that a medium value. I should erase my letters first, the little letters I drew, and again, color in little circle motions to create a nice solid value. So this is going to be my medium. If you realize that a section is too dark or too light, you can always take an eraser and lighten it, or color with a heavier pressure to make it darker too. Take your time to smooth it out with the circle motions. So that's my medium. The top of my letter, I'm going to erase the L, should be light. So I'm going to use a lighter pressure in circle motion because that's where my light is hitting mostly. So that's my light. You should be able to squint your eyes and see a difference between these two values. And this is going to be dark. In the end, we shouldn't even need the pencil outline of the letter because the different values show the different sides of the letters because of the shadows. Circle motion. Get it nice and solid in there. This is part of the A still. And that's that. Double check. Squint your eyes, see the values, and I think I'm going to color this dark in here because that would get hardly any light. This might get a little bit of light because this is the side facing up. So I'm going to color this maybe a medium color, maybe dark. Sometimes you just have to make a decision and go with it of what makes sense to you. Erase the letter. And I'm going to color this dark because hardly any light would get to this little section because it's underneath the A. So I have light, medium is the front, dark is the insides that don't get as much light. Make sure you double check your labels with me before you start coloring. And if you aren't sure about something, if you can make a logical decision with where the light is shining, you can go with it. Otherwise, double check to make sure that your coloring is accurate with the space. Happy coloring!